Ever wake up from a dream and you're like, whoa, I almost got a handle on that. Like you could have changed the scene or something.
It's like you were right there on the edge of taking control.
Exactly.
Hmm.
That's what's got us so intrigued today, lucid dreaming. Today, we're diving headfirst into this whole world. How to do it, what could be awesome about it, and yeah, maybe some not so fun stuff too.
Well, I think what really hooks people about lucid dreaming is that it kind of blurs the line between, like, a mystical thing and something scientists can actually study.
You sent us this awesome guide all about lucid dreaming because you've been wanting to learn more, right?
Yeah, exactly. It's one of those things that just makes you wonder.
For sure. So to make sure we're all on the same page when we say lucid dreaming, we're talking about knowing you're in a dream while you're still dreaming. Yeah.
Right. It's like that aha moment hits you in the middle of your dream and you suddenly realize, hold on a sec, this isn't real life. But whoa, it feels so real.
It's wild. So what's actually going on in our brains when that happens? Is it totally different from regular dreaming?
It really is. Our brains are doing something totally unique when we're lucid dreaming, almost like a whole different level of activity. It's not just our imagination going wild. There are some specific neurological shifts happening that researchers can actually see.
Whoa, seriously. So it's not just some woo-woo concept, like scientists can actually measure it.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
So is that why people say you can sometimes make choices in a lucid dream, like you're actually calling the shots?
You hit the nail on the head. It all comes down to this part of the brain called the frontal cortex, which is basically your brain's control center for making decisions. And guess what? Studies show that during lucid dreaming, the frontal cortex lights up like a Christmas tree.
It's like that part of your brain, which is usually snoozing during regular dreams, suddenly wakes up. So it's like our conscious awareness is getting a supercharge in the middle of dreamland. It makes you wonder if lucid dreaming could do even more than just give us cool dream experiences. Could it help us be more creative in our waking lives?
It really is a fascinating question, and some of the research out there suggests it might. Just think about all these amazing artists or inventors who've said that lucid dreaming sparked their most creative ideas. Take Salvador Dali, for example, the famous surrealist painter.
Wait, didn't he actually try to induce lucid dreams to, like, fuel his art?
He absolutely did. He called it slumber with a key, which, I don't know, it just sounds so cool. This idea that you can unlock these hidden creative depths within your subconscious. And get this. There's even research suggesting that lucid dreaming could be a powerful tool for people who have nightmares, especially those who've been through some kind of trauma.
So instead of just being stuck in a nightmare, you could potentially change the course of the dream. That's incredible.
It's like rewriting the script of your nightmares. You're facing your fears, but in this safe space where nothing can actually hurt you.
That's so empowering. So we've got all these potential benefits floating around, but obviously it's not all sunshine and rainbows, right?
You're right. It's super important to remember that while lucid dreaming can be amazing, it's not a cure-all. Especially for folks who are already dealing with certain mental health challenges like anxiety or something, it could actually make things feel more confusing or overwhelming.
So if someone's thinking about exploring this, it's probably a good idea to talk to their doctor or therapist first, right? Just to be safe.
Absolutely. It's always best to err on the side of caution.
You don't want to mess around with your mental well-being, so
Yeah.
better safe than sorry.
Uh,
But okay, let's get to the good stuff. How do we actually do this lucid dreaming thing? What are the secrets?
Well, the cool thing is there are actually quite a few techniques, and the best one for you might be different from what works for someone else. It's like finding your own path into this whole other world.
I love that. It makes it feel more doable, like anyone could potentially tap into this. So in this awesome guide you sent, it talks about some different techniques, right? What are some of the ones people can try out?
Yeah, for sure. The guide does a really good job of breaking down some of the most popular ones. One that stood out to me, and you kind of mentioned this earlier, is reality testing. It's basically about making a habit of pausing throughout the day and asking yourself, am I dreaming right now?
Oh, yeah, totally. Like sometimes I catch myself doing that even when I'm not thinking about lucid dreaming.
Exactly. We've probably all done it at some point, right? Like you walk into a room and you're like, wait, why did I come in here again?
All the time. It's like a mini reality check.
Exactly. And the idea is that by making this a habit, you're training your mind to question its surroundings, which can then increase your chances of doing the same thing when you're actually in a dream.
So it's like building a mental muscle. The more you use it, the stronger it gets.
Yeah.
What are some other ways people can try to have a lucid dream?
Let's see. There's this technique called mnemonic induction of lucid dreams, or MILD For short, it's a mouthful, I know.
It's a good thing it's got a shorter name.
Right. But anyway, it's actually pretty simple. You basically set an alarm to wake yourself up briefly during the night. Then, as you're falling back asleep, you keep thinking about wanting to become lucid, to realize you're dreaming. You can even visualize yourself having that aha moment in your dream. It's like planting a seed in your mind right before you drift off.
Interesting. So you're kind of reminding yourself right before you go back to sleep. What about that technique I've heard of where you wake up in the middle of the night and then go back to sleep?
You're talking about wake back to bed, WBTT for short.
So many acronyms.
I know, right? But yeah, WBTB, it's another popular one. So basically, you set an alarm to wake up maybe a couple of hours before your normal wake-up time. You stay awake for a bit, maybe read something about dreaming or just chill out, and then you go back to sleep. Apparently, that period of wakefulness can make you way more likely to have a lucid dream.
Huh. So you're messing with your sleep cycle a little bit. Fascinating.
Yeah, it's kind of like you're catching your brain in that sweet spot between being awake and asleep.
That makes sense.
But
Okay, and then of course there's the classic dream journaling. It seems kind of old school, but people swear by it.
it's a classic for a reason. It might seem simple, but it can be surprisingly powerful. Think of your dream journal as a map to your own subconscious. The more you remember your dreams, the more you start to notice patterns, emotions, maybe even those little signs that usually pop up right before you become lucid.
It's like you become a detective of your own mind. Love it. Speaking of fascinating, one thing that's always blown my mind about lucid dreaming is that it's not just some modern new agey thing, you know?
Totally. It's actually been around for centuries, woven into different cultures all over the world. Like, have you ever heard of Tibetan dream yoga?
I've heard of it, but I don't know much about it.
So it's this ancient practice, and it uses lucid dreaming as a way to explore your own consciousness, confront your fears, even work through personal stuff, all within the dreamscape.
Whoa, so it's almost like a spiritual practice.
Yeah, in a way, it is. And here's something even wilder. Researchers think that our cultural background can actually influence the actual content of our dreams. The things we dream about, the symbols, even the characters.
Get out. Seriously.
Seriously. Like, there's been research on this. For example, in Japan, dreams about work or being chased are way more common than in other cultures.
That's why.
Researchers think it might be connected to their strong work ethic and the pressures that come with their society.
Wow. So even in our dreams, we're not really escaping our cultural conditioning? That's deep. Okay, but let's get real for a minute. As much as I love this idea of exploring these amazing dream worlds, it can't all be fun and games, right? There's got to be a downside.
Right. It's super important to go into this with a balanced view. Lucid dreaming can be amazing, but like anything powerful, it does come with some potential risks.
Like what? What should people watch out for?
Well, for one thing, a lot of people struggle with sleep disruption when they first start trying to lucid dream.
Makes sense.
Yeah, like if you're constantly obsessing over it, putting pressure on yourself to make it happen, it can backfire and mess with your sleep.
It's like anything else. You got to find that balance. You can't force it.
Exactly. And then there's also the potential for like some weird psychological stuff, especially for people who already have anxiety or other mental health things going on. Lucid dreaming can kind of blur those lines between what's real and what's not. And for some people, that could be more harmful than helpful.
So it's kind of like tread lightly.
Yeah.
And if you're not sure, it's always best to talk to a professional.
Exactly. It's like, why take the risk, right?
Right. Now, I've heard some pretty wild stories about lucid dreaming, like people having these really intense, almost scary experiences. Is there any truth to that?
Yeah, there can be. It's not everyone, of course, but some people experience things like sleep paralysis along with lucid dreaming.
Sleep paralysis. Okay, that sounds kind of freaky.
Yeah, it can be pretty unsettling. It's that thing where you wake up, but you literally can't move. Like your mind is awake, but your body's still asleep.
And that's connected to lucid dreaming.
Sometimes. And it often comes with this feeling of pressure on your chest, or like you can't breathe. It's not actually dangerous or anything, but yeah, I can see how it would be scary if you didn't know what was going on.
Yeah, no kidding. You'd think you were trapped or something.
Exactly. And then there are things like false awakenings, which can really mess with your head too.
False awakenings. What's that?
It's when you dream that you wake up.
So you're like, oh, thank goodness that weird dream is over.
Yeah.
But you're actually still in it?
Yep. Your brain is playing tricks on you.
Okay, so with all that in mind, what's the best and safest way for our listeners to start exploring lucid dreaming if they're curious?
Honestly, if someone's dealing with any kind of mental health stuff, or they're prone to nightmares, I'd say talk to a doctor or therapist first, just to be on the safe side,
Definitely better to be safe than sorry.
for sure. But for folks who are curious and want to give it a try, there are some really gentle ways to start. Like, you don't have to jump into the deep end right away.
Yeah, ease into it.
Right. Like, even just trying out reality testing during the day, incorporating those little checks into your routine, that's a great first step to becoming more aware of your dream state without making any big changes.
So start small, pay attention to those dreams.
Exactly. And then, if you're feeling more adventurous, you can try out some of those techniques we talked about, like MyLD or WBDB. But even just keeping a dream journal, just jotting down whatever you remember can make a huge difference.
Awesome. So find what works for you, be patient, and maybe you'll discover a whole new side of yourself.
Right, exactly. It's all about exploring the power of your own mind.
I love that. Well, we've covered a ton today. I feel like we've barely scratched the surface of this whole lucid dreaming thing.
I know, right? Such a fascinating topic.
We talked about the science behind it, those potential benefits,
Yeah.
and also the importance of being cautious and listening to your gut.
And we can't forget the cultural connections. Who knew dreaming was such a global experience?
Seriously, so cool. Well, for everyone listening, we'd love to hear from you. Have you ever had a lucid dream? What techniques have you tried? Hit us up on social media and share your stories. Until next time, happy dreaming.